Hi, I'm Pnina. I tried to run in the last municipal election in Jerusalem as part of Yerushalmim. In the end, didn't work out. My colleague is here from Yerushalmim, but I consider myself a Haredi feminist politician. There are two pictures on the screen. When you think of Haredim, which picture comes to your mind more? You don't have to answer me. I assume I know the answer. I know that for me, as a Haredi woman, this is the picture I would choose if I was told something about Haredim and how I imagine them. Today is the last day of Hanukkah. We're not lighting candles today. Last night was the last night for candles. But this is actually Purim. I'm not confused. This is the scroll of Esther. It's the scroll that's read on the holiday of Purim every year. The heroine of the story is Queen Esther. And this is a modern edition of the scroll in a book, very well illustrated, artistic. You might want to notice something missing from the illustrations. Someone who you would expect to see, she's not here. She's not in any of the pages, by the way. I brought a few examples. I think that's Haman, the royal chariot, Mordechai, all kinds of characters. Queen Esther does not appear in this edition. This is part of a trend that I think started about 20 years ago. When I was a child, I just turned 40. When I was a child, Haredi children's books had women in them. Very modest women, but they were there, they were illustrated. And today, in the past 20 years, women have been removed from all children's literature, not all, most children's literature. These are the two main leading Haredi websites. The reason I wanted to talk about them for a minute is because they are leading a bit of a change as far as women's visual appearance in the media. All the print media does not have women's pictures. When I was interviewed for Haredi media, my picture did not appear. If men were interviewed with me, they did appear, which obviously gives them an unfair advantage because people like to see pictures of people and they vote for people. I once made I should have shown it, but I once, I put a Facebook post and I put the picture of the article that had me interviewed and the two men that were interviewed with me, and then I put a picture of Fiona from Shrek. And I said, this is my current profile picture, but they unfortunately missed it and didn't put it in the paper. Here's a question that I would like you to try and answer. How many Haredi women are in political roles? Up to 100. Choose a number. It's a nice round number, right? There was one time when I was at the Knesset, there was a committee. There's the Committee for the Advancement of Women, headed by Aida Thomas Suleiman. And there's an interesting alliance between the Arab women and the Haredi women because we both have similar issues in certain areas of, gender equality, or rather inequality. And they were showing very, very low numbers of, municipal politics, national politics, etc. And then it came to my turn, and I had this very nice round number to present. So they're underrepresented, but we are unrepresented. These are the objections that we face when we complain, or I don't like to use the word complain, when we object to the fact that we're not at the table and that we're not making political decisions or any kinds of decisions, even the ones that affect us and our lives and our children's lives. It ranges from, it's halachically forbidden, it's a religious thing, women should not be in these types of roles because of religious reasons, or it's unseemly, it's not okay for women to be in a man's world, which is, to me, one of the most ridiculous things to say when Haredi women were sent out en masse to support their families financially so that the men could learn, and totally in a man's world. They're working in high tech and as lawyers, mostly as teachers, but they're everywhere. We're working, and then when it comes to like all these positions, all of a sudden it's go home to your kitchen. And obviously there's this is not something I think that's specifically Haredi, but maybe it's more common to say to Haredi women is that you should be spending more time with your family. This is the new mayor of Haifa. Her name is Einat Kalish Rotem. She is the first female mayor to be elected in Israel to one of the 3 big cities since the founding of the State of Israel. In 70 years, there's never been a female mayor of one of the big cities, which is Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, and Haifa. She got elected through cooperation with a few parties, but also the Haredi parties supported her, and that's how she got in. And here in the picture, you see Haredi men, also her female Haredi media advisor, but everyone else is men, and they're dancing for her. That's a picture it's ironic, it's frustrating. There's a lot to be said about that picture, but that's the current state of Haredi women. If she were Haredi, she wouldn't be in that picture. They wouldn't be dancing for her. Because she's not from our community, then it's okay to let her run. This is a phrase that we hear a lot. Kol kvoda bat melech pnima. It's used. It translates as the daughter of the king is glorious inside the palace, meaning you're very important, you're cherished, but inside, you know, like don't be out in the public sphere. That's not for you. A little bit about the society that I come from, the Haredi society. These are the 3 heads of the parties that represent the different factions of Haredi society. This is Moshe Gafni, he's the head of the finance committee. Yaakov Litzman, he's the health minister, and Aryeh Deri is the internal affairs minister, I think. You'll notice that I put avatars both on Gafni and Litzman's pictures. That represents their wives. You don't know what their wives looks like because their pictures are never in the media. Yafa Deri is the exception to the rule. I think most people have seen her picture. She's a public figure in the sense that she runs a big charity organization, and she speaks publicly. It's symbolic of the differences between the Ashkenazi, more strict Haredim, and the Sephardi ones who are a bit more, they never really went all the way with the extremism, with gender separation. So it's not a sign of the times or of change. It's the way it was from the beginning. There are changes that are taking place, not just for women. This is about what we as women are doing, but there are what you would call new Haredim who are going to the army, going to work, going to academia. All those things create also strife, because both in the army and in academia, sometimes in workplaces, there's sometimes the perception that things have to be changed, and that more gender inequality is caused by integrating Haredim. And there's a lot of questions around the idea of how much integration, what the price of liberal values are against the integration into society. This is my friend's book. She's not here, she's in London. She would be here otherwise. She wrote a book about the campaign. This was in the last national election. Haredi Women, Esti Shushan started it, and the campaign was Lo Nivcharot, Lo Bocharot, which means not elected, not voting, something like that. Basically, it was a call to Haredi women not to vote for the Haredi parties that don't have women on the list. And it's important because half the people that vote for Haredi parties that don't allow women are women. So talking to women is the most important thing, although you'll see soon that I think men are also a very important part of the battle. So there are all kinds of ways to fight this gender inequality. There's the legislation trying to put pressure on the Haredi parties directly. There was a higher court petition. The petition wasn't for Haredi women to even run in the Haredi parties. It was just to allow them officially to be party members. Even that's on the charter, it's not allowed. You can't be a party member. If I want to be a member of the party I've voted for my entire life, I can't be because I'm a woman. I did something different. I ran in a secular party in Jerusalem. I think practically that's the fastest route, and I like fast and I like practical, so that's what I tried to do. I've also been involved in creating a chapter in the Labor Party. My friend Michal should be here soon, and she heads it. Now there's something interesting it's also very political, even though it's not always considered that. The religious councils also don't have women. They have very few women. I shouldn't say don't have women. They have very few women. No Haredi women, of course. Even in cities where it's a majority of Haredim. There's a small city up north where my friend works in the municipality, and she told me that because there's a new law that you have to have 20% of women, they closed down the religious council in Rechasim, in the city, to avoid having women in the council, because everyone's Haredi, so they can't even try and find a woman who's not Haredi to fill the slot, and they don't want to create that situation. So they closed down the religious council, and they have some other way of making it work, but obviously that's not going to be a solution in the long run, and that puts pressure on them. And then there's also, it's important to talk about just social action, different things that women do, not in the political arena, in the social arena, that can have a lot of impact. Here's an example, something that I do. At my home for the past 3 years, once a week, we study Talmud, a group of women. It's called a Beit Midrash. It's not something that has happened in the past in an organized manner. I actually started, and it was a very personal decision. I come from a family of Torah scholars. My father's very learned. It was very important, very central to my life, to my family. It's also good to mention that the most important value, the core value of the Haredi community is Torah study, and the people who are most admired and sought after and considered are those who have Torah knowledge, who are what's called Talmidei Chachamim. So in any society, if women want equality and to get ahead, you have to be part of the core values of your own society. Because if you take liberal values and you say, as long as women are educated and financially independent, then they're equal, you'll find that it doesn't work in conservative societies. The example I like to bring is not from my own society. It's from Bedouin society. About a year and a half ago, there was it wasn't a terrorist attack. Israel decided it was a terrorist attack. It was controversial, but in any event, there was an accident where a Bedouin was killed in El-Khiran, an unrecognized village, and they interviewed his widow. And it turned out that this was the second time she was widowed, because she had been previously married to his brother, and she had many children with him. And the reason she married his brother in a second marriage was not from choice. It was because she wanted to keep her children with her. And had she married a man who was not his brother, the children would stay with his family, and she would be left without them. This happens in Israel now. It's not legal, but it happens. And what struck me was that she has a doctorate in education, and she teaches in a college. So she's an educated, financially independent woman who can't even decide who she wants to marry, which is, I think, the most basic human right you can think about. And in my society, the core value is Torah study. This is my father's dedication in the Gemara and the Talmud that he gave me. I won't read the whole thing. To me, it's very touching, but he wrote, "To my beloved, esteemed, knowledgeable daughter," and that's something usually that's reserved for sons, not for daughters, that kind of a phrase. So you can tell that I come from a family where, in the end of the day, my father was a bit of a feminist, so he can blame himself for everything. And the last part is, what role can you have in this battle with this issue? Just stand by us. That's something that's very important. Knowing that there's backup when you're going against the world and there are other people who are behind you is important. There's legislation. When we do it, be part of it. Vote for us when we run, and donate to the cause of the organizations. I don't represent an organization. I represent a cause. There are many, not many, a few organizations that deal with this on all different levels. This is something that I wrote about how Haredi women need the liberal vote and the liberal voice in order to succeed. So, thank you.